Welcome back to the Nullified Take, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge Week 2, episodes 3 and 4. I'm your host, Chris, and joining me tonight is my co-host, Kahuna. Again, Kahuna, how you doing?
Very good. So good to be back watching another week of the Challenge Australia, and it's good to be breaking it down with you, going over everything that happened in 2 really good episodes this week.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get into it with you, but let's start off with something I think that was quite a big discussion point for us last week. We spoke about ratings. We spoke about the show potentially struggling on the ratings.
It's bounced back, and it's doing amazing.
No, it's not. It would have been amazing. It would have been. I was like, "What did you read? Did we read different documents?" But
Can I say what Johnny said when he really got the check wrong on the puzzle? He just goes, "Mother."
And we're gonna get into that. But I mean, listen, we looked at the ratings this week. It hit a new all-time low on Tuesday of 136,000 people watching it, which is astonishingly low, even for some of the shows that's been struggling this year. So they've made a bit of a change. They're going to be showing both the episodes back to back because it looks like Monday. They're thinking that's more of a day where people can sort of invest into the show. Maybe they don't want to watch it 2 nights a week, or they're just trying to get it all done in one night where people can watch it back to back. What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on the fact that the show is struggling?
I mean, it's a shame because I feel like this week I feel like it's starting to hit its stride. It takes a couple episodes for you to get comfortable. I now know the names. I didn't know any of the Love Island and Bachelorette and all that before, but now you're starting to know the names. You familiarize yourselves with the characters, and this is when people start finding their feet. But it didn't do enough maybe to hook them in the first couple of weeks, and we're seeing that now. I am hoping. I think maybe the double episode in one night might be a better viewer experience. You don't have to commit multiple nights to it and come back to it. And that's more of what the challenge traditionally is, the way the US does it. I don't know if it's going to make an impact, but they're taking a shot at least in something different. If you just keep doing the same thing and it's not working, at least you take a shot, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is not good for the Challenge Australia and for those people who want to see the Challenge Australia get a second season and potentially become its own franchise on its own feet. Because with those kind of numbers, I find it hard to believe that there's going to be more shows in the future. I also think, for me personally, Kahuna, I've got to say, we've lost a lot of the big characters early on, like the people who made the show really interesting. So I'm really worried about what this is going to mean for the next couple of episodes. Are they maybe not as confident that they can hold an audience over those nights because the characters that are staying back are not as big or as charismatic or as fun to watch? Like, I mean, we've lost Sorrel, we've lost David, both people who were instrumental to the drama. Jack, we've lost Johnny, who's been massive as a character. Like, who's going to carry the show? Like, who's the really entertaining person that we still have left on that cast right now?
The charisma of Emily. She gives her confessionals.
Do you know who she reminds me of? She reminds me, and I love this girl, and I was an advocate for her the Challenge USA because of her challenge ability. But she's got the same personality as Angela from the Challenge USA. It's just so monotone. It's not really meant. She's an athlete, and you can respect her for being an athlete and very capable. But does she make entertaining TV? I don't know. I mean, she's going to get in a fight next week.
Big Brother season?
I didn't watch. Oh, Angela did, yes. But Angela had her now boyfriend, I think they're still together, Tyler Crispin, who's one of the all-time greats to play the game. And Casey,
Right.
playing with her as well. So those three were
Okay.
in an alliance, and that's why I've said Casey is not a bad strategic player because obviously she had some good strategy in Big Brother as well. But
Sure.
I think Tyler really carried that season on his charisma and
Gotcha.
personality. She was a lot of the time seen as furniture by people who watch Big Brother even that season. So, but yeah, I mean, this is not for people who are listening to this. They're like, geez, you guys are going hard on Emily. I think Emily is an amazing athlete and not taken away from anything she's done in her professional life. But I don't know if the entertainment's there. Maybe it's going to be something that we see next week because it does look like there's going to be some confrontation between the Batchy group and Emily and that there may be a blow up.
Mm.
I saw something.
So what do you attribute the low ratings to? Why do you think Australians aren't biting?
I personally think it's been overstated on the podcast, and we're going to say it again. I think it's the cast. It's everything. You have to get the right cast to hook people, and I think that they missed a massive opportunity in getting more people on the show from Survivor. Firstly, there's big personalities like a Luke Toki, a David Gannat that are not playing the next Australian Survivor Heroes versus Villains that could have been great additions to the show. And maybe even other more fun characters where I feel like the Bachelor universe, and I know this is critical, I don't watch it. Maybe there are fans that are very impressed by these Bachelor people coming over. That show is a different show. It's about love. It's about making out. It's about messiness, which I know the traditional challenge was all about. But I feel like more of a competitive competition now, and people want to see people who are capable of being competitive and have a great personality. Is this the best that The Bachelor has to offer? That's what I'm sort of wondering. And I would love for people.
I can't imagine it being any different with it. I don't imagine how many more characters from The Bachelor and that would be more competitive, if you will. I said in the preview show,
even entertainment-wise, right?
It's a balance.
I mean, like entertainment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. There may be others, for sure. I don't know about The Bachelor and Bachelorette, but I reckon the Love Island and Maths, there would be some entertaining characters for sure. I said in the preview show that it would be a balance between the drama and the competitive side, I guess. And did they get that balance right? It looks like they're finding out they didn't. I don't know. Like maybe you're right. Like if they were going to try to get the numbers, because I think Maths is like a huge hit, right? And all those there's a reason why we're on the 15,000th season of The Bachelor. And it keeps coming back. So there's something about it. And maybe they're trying to tap into that audience, right? And get those numbers. But those numbers, that audience doesn't want to see
a competitive reality TV show. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the format of the show as well, because just because you love Maths, like I don't like it. I'm not going to watch Maths just because Sorrel came over. I'm not going to go back and watch her season just because of that, because I'm not interested in that show. Where maybe people who watch Maths are looking at this and they're saying, we're not interested in the challenge because it seems like something that Survivor people will like or Big Brother people will like. It's more of a competitive reality TV show where we want to see people fall in love. We want to see, and then also combined with the fact that they're marketing the whole Australian Heroes versus Villains with this, and they're like releasing different people that are coming into the next show. They're clearly trying to get people who watch Survivor to watch this show, and they didn't bring Survivor players in. So just, I think 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't equal 3.
Yeah. So run the show again, but do more Survivor players, more Big Brother, maybe SAS. Is it a better received show?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say.
The nightclub scenes would be pretty boring, though.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, but then again, you could have players in there like Johnny, Luke Toki, like that. I think would make some fun stuff happen. SAS, those who dare wins. I don't know, SAS. I don't know if they would add that kind of flavor to it, but I feel like there's enough big personalities that could bring a bit of a flair to the game. And at this point, outside of Brooke, who's really playing this game at a high strategic level? And I even asked Johnny this, and he was like, yeah, she's miles ahead. She can call the strategy. She can see all these different things. But who else is there that's playing that type of game with her at this point that you feel like has got the strategy down pat? Because I don't feel like the rest of the team or the rest of the cast there's got it.
And we're seeing it play out, right? Like no one's really pulling the strings. And I question some of the decisions that get made, and
we'll get into that.
Yeah,
we'll definitely get into some of those decisions.
Is it? I do hope that the ratings aren't as what, like maybe because it's a Bun and Murray production, it's not all on Channel 10. They're getting the funding from overseas. They're already going to be doing the other ones. it might not be that much of an extra burden to try to give it a chance to find its feet with another season if they're doing this cost-saving way of recycling challenges sets the whole 9 and just run it through. Maybe it's worth it to them in the long run to do a couple more seasons of Australia. I'm fingers crossed, and I'm grasping at straws. I know the ratings
Yeah.
don't look good, but there's a bigger world macro view than just simply what the first couple episodes ratings are in Australia locally. I think I'm
The
hoping.
person I would be the most, and I do want to say hello to Michael before I go into this. He says, surely we get Chris on The Bachelor. Michael, I tell you now, mate, I'm like Johnny. If you listen to Johnny's exit interview, he said, I don't want to get into love or date people on a show. That would not be my aim of getting onto reality TV. There's a higher likelihood you see me on Amazing Race or Survivor or one of those types of shows than what it is for The Bachelor or Married at First Sight. Definitely not Married at First Sight.
When
People
I
who do
listened to
that's
your
crazy.
when I listened to your interview, I thought you should have suggested Johnny be on The Bachelor now as his next thing.
Yeah, I felt like he would have told me to get effed because he pretty much told me it's for me to know and for you not to know when I asked him about
a number
Jessica.
of times he used that word as well, so very specifically.
I was like, okay, point taken, Johnny. I'm not going to keep pushing. Such a fun interview, such a fun guy to talk to as well. But I was going to go. So the person I would be the most disappointed for if this thing doesn't go ahead is going to be Bryony, because I feel like Bryony is excellent. Like, I cannot endorse them enough as a host because they've done an excellent job so far. They've got great personality. They're bringing their own flavor to it. It's so intimidating when you walk into a show where someone like TJ Levin is so well known by the challenge community. He pretty much owns that space, and they have come into this thing and they've got their own spin on it, and they're relatable to the cast, and I feel like they're a part of the whole experience. So I'm really impressed by Bryony, and I feel like, man, we got to get Bryony back on TV if they don't get another opportunity.
They're great. Like, one thing that I've always loved about TJ as a host is the non-polish, is the fact that he was a former BNX star, and you can tell even today there's so much ADR, or ADR is audio filmed afterwards because he's stuffed lines. They get him to fill in, and you've heard from some of the cast of the MTV show that he has to do things over and over and over again because he's not a professional host. He's done it for a long time and he's gotten better. But Bryony, one of the things that I love most about TJ is that he hasn't got that polish, and he actually laughs at them and interacts with them, and you can tell that he's friends. Whereas people like Jeff Probst and
he's also disappointed dad a lot of the times. He's also disappointed, and we love disappointed dad. TJ,
he breaks the barrier between him and the contestants on Survivor and Amazing Race and shows like that. Even though they're great hosts, there's still that disconnect. We have to separate. I'm the host. In Australia, they took the host and dumped them into the mud pit.
That was amazing. The best moment of the week.
Yeah, the way that Bryony interacts with them, you can tell there's a real connection, and they love what they're doing, and it comes across on screen. And I'm right there with you, Chris. I hope they get another opportunity at this, because some people thought they were wooden on the first episode. That is gone now. Bryony is owning this season as host. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, they're doing an excellent job. Love the whole scene where Johnny, because he's done this to JLP as well, where they've had a mud challenge and Johnny went up to him and I believe in All Stars got him all muddy on his nice shirt as well. So Johnny went one step further here and actually dumped the host into the mud because they were all smug about the fact that they've been a fire person before and that they've been able to use, the fire hose. And they're like, no. You're not going to be hosing us off. You're getting in the mud with us.
How amazing is Brian? We find out they used to be a firefighter, apparently.
That's awesome.
That's new. I bet you someone in the US version tries to get a nice highlight reel and copy Johnny on a future thing with TJ. Someone's going to try to dump him.
It's
Could
funny,
you see it happening to TJ?
I can, and Lovable Nikki, who's in the live right now. Hey, Lovable Nikki. We had a chat on Angel Cake's Patreon Discord, and I said, how awesome would it be if someone did this? Can you imagine someone doing this to TJ? And Lovable Nikki said, hands off TJ. Don't do this to TJ. But I will say, I would love to see it.
He'd try to manhandle him and wrestle him back. He'll go, let's bring a pole and we'll do a pole wrestle right now.
Yeah, I feel like TJ's got a bit more of an intimidating factor about him. Like, they're not going to easily step over and try that.
Isn't that one of the great things about Bryony? that
Yeah,
they have this relationship with the competitors
I
at
love
an
it.
early stage. It's an example of, I guess, the Aussie attitude and spirit towards games and sportsmanship as well. It's not the hoorah, we have to be number one at everything. It's
Mm.
fun as well, and Bryony is exhibiting that in all the right ways.
Yeah. Can't speak highly enough of Bryony. Really impressed with them so far. There is also a rumor out there that the hosts of all of these international versions of the show will also partake in the main event when all the global franchises come together. So maybe there is still something for them to get an
Whoa.
additional exposure. Now, what that would be and how involved they're going to be in that show, no idea, because I've got to imagine that TJ is going to be the main host. But hopefully, we do see Bryony get exposure in that American market, because that specific show, the global showpiece, will definitely be on the US as well. Show Paramounts
That's a
and so
great
forth.
room. I haven't heard that one. That's exciting.
Yeah, so I hope it's right. I mean, I've heard the rumor. If it's true or not, don't hold me to it. But looking at this first episode, we had Connor and Sorrel being partnered up,
Can I
and it
just
made for a
interrupt
yeah,
for
yeah,
1 second? Sorry,
go for it.
Chris. Episodes always start with the previously on, and
Hmm.
the MTV version has made a tradition of coming up with little goofy bits to introduce the previously on the challenge. So you see what
Yes,
happened last week. I think we have the winner of all time on F. Did you know? Did you pick it up on it at all?
remind
Uh,
me, remind me.
so the previous episode was the pegs on the truck,
Yes,
right? So Ryan, hanging off the side of the truck, says, "Previously on the challenge, we got pegged."
yeah, I remember that.
And that was it. That's absolutely the best one I've ever seen. That's
You're
the
gonna have to
best
explain.
previously
I don't
on.
know if this is an Aussie New Zealand slang or not. You're gonna have to explain what pegged means over here if somebody says
Ah,
we got pegged,
okay.
because I don't know
Okay.
if anybody from
Yeah,
America would get it.
oh, no, people from America would definitely get it. It's
All
just a
right,
certain type of people. Maybe you're just a little bit too
maybe I'm too
clean.
innocent.
Yeah, but you can Google it
I know
later
what
and
it is.
find
I
it.
know what it is. It's just I'm not sure.
If you're out
But
there, you can Google it. I'm not telling you. I don't want to
yeah,
break minds here.
just in case we've got anybody listening to this in their car driving into work and they've got the kids in the back, we'll keep it clean. We'll keep it PG. But yeah, I completely forgot about that.
That's a
And
wicked.
it's
Again,
so
just
easy.
an example of Australian television versus what they would say on American television.
Yeah. Well, Connor and Sorrel, they ended up being a partnership this week. It ended up being a thing, and Sorrel was not very complimentary of Connor throughout the exit interview. She really didn't like him. It seems like Connor doesn't have many mates in the game at this point, so him being partnered with Sorrel at this point in the game was definitely something that was going to be dangerous for them, and they were looked at as a weak pair. But they end up having the best possible leg here in this episode and getting into power because they win the daily challenge. Did you see that coming? And what's your thoughts about this partnership between Connor and Sorrel and where Connor is currently in the game? Because everybody seems to be targeting him.
I did not see that coming. I also thought they weren't going to work that great together as a couple. And I mean, the challenge itself, the bowlers, um, they shouldn't have won. It's not that they won; it's that Brooke and Ryan had one of the worst chokes in daily challenge history. That's going from like did they have two on before anyone else was even throwing?
It looked like it to me. I mean, unless there was
Two.
some editing magic, definitely it looked like Brooke and Ryan were two ahead of Sorrel and Connor or whoever else got into it. And plus, let's not forget, this is a very survivor-like challenge. Like you get this
Yeah.
specific challenge. I'm not enough of a historian when it comes to Survivor to remember every single challenge that Brooke has taken part in. But this is the kind of thing you would train for going on Survivor. So I thought this would be right up her alley. And she's won a lot of individual immunities in the past.
So they went from first to third and allowing Connor and Sorrel to get through. Um, I mean, I didn't expect it at all, and the way it was looking like it was playing out wasn't going to happen either. But then out of the blue, I do like that after he won, Connor said that yeah, I want to show them that I'm strong and powerful, and I'm like, that wasn't
I don't
really,
think.
it didn't really do it, but I just thought it was funny that he just took it as I'm strong and powerful now because I threw the things. That was great.
Maybe some challengers, future challengers that want to go on the show, they looked at this and they thought, hey, I need to be taking softball lessons if I ever wanted to go on to the challenge, because apparently he was a softball player
That's
growing up.
probably
So
the
maybe that's
reason.
something
Yeah,
that helped.
hand-eye coordination, throwing. I was about to say he seems to be good with balls, but I meant as
You're
in
gonna take JLP's job here, mate. You're talking about juggling their balls out there, and
Bryony did a bit of that herself, isn't it?
yeah,
Themselves mentioned the handling the balls well. So
yeah,
another example of Bryony doing, Bryony.
briny things. Yeah, I mean, talking to Sorrell in the exit interview, she did say that obviously the fact that 90% of the cast couldn't do math really helped. Because there was a lot of them that were struggling. Like
Yeah, Kieran
how
said,
Johnny and Megan didn't get last. In this round,
yeah.
it was an absolute shocker to me because they both don't seem like the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to things like math.
Kieran and Emily, or Kieran said, me and Emily both dropped out of school when we were 16 when we were struggling with this one. But yeah, I think the US version was like their names or something. They had to find their names or something a lot simpler than just straight math. Maths is better, but it is. I was good. I think they do that because they know people are going to struggle, and it's not necessarily because you're dumb. It's because you're running through mud in the heat of competition, and we've seen it. Like they're not starving like in Survivor, but you see in Survivor the kind of pressure of competition gets to you, if you will. And it
Mm.
happens, but they put it in just so you can get those funny moments of people making mistakes with simple mathematics. So it
Hey,
works. It
it's
works.
always fun. It's always fun seeing people fail on national, international TV.
Yeah.
Lovable Nikki here in the chat says, I was confused. It looked like Brooke got 2 on the racks and then her partner was struggling with the last one. However, in a confessional, Sorrel made it seem like she didn't throw any. I can confirm that Brooke didn't get any. It was actually Ryan who got both of those thrown on there. One of the things that I was sort of surprised by is because I only saw Brooke attempt it once and she missed. And then Brooke kind of took a back seat in that duo and she just kept giving it and running it back to Ryan. And like I said, maybe that's a part of the issue because maybe Brooke should have stepped up and said, hey, let me try 1 or 2 more of these as well. I mean, I've got experience of being on a show. But then again, Brooke is that type of girl. She's played on so many of these shows. She probably didn't want to make more of a target of herself where people see her fail very badly at it. So she probably said, I'll take a step back and let Ryan take the heat here as someone that can be potentially a target at this stage in the game. I'm sure her mind was thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead and why she didn't step up.
Well, Brooke was a target in the first episode, right? And now we haven't heard her name come up that much. So you could be right that she's trying to stay off the radars, especially when there's apparent war going on between the bedroom and the big Batchy group. So she could lay low, avoid that, maybe not even win a thing. But I mean, I don't know. Like, should she have taken chat? Because in Survivor, you see when they go for like long periods of misses into a basket or whatever toss thing that they're doing.
They rotate, yeah.
They rotate it. But also at the same time, maybe, Ryan got the first 2 on pretty quickly. Maybe they thought, he's onto it. He knows what he's doing. He's on a thing, but you got to pull the plug at some point. They were like, once they start catching up and more people are getting out of the mud, you got to try something different, right?
100%. I agree with you on that. Another note that I made here is that Karen and Emily being partnered together said that they both dropped out of school at 16. So it probably didn't help. They're both physically gifted, but math wasn't their thing. So obviously that helped a little bit in that. And then the other part that we didn't really get into too much prior to the daily happening was a very interesting pairing for this specific episode. Brooke B and Conrad had history on The Bachelorette. So I believe Brooke B was the Bachelorette. She had Conrad as part of her top 4, top 5 men that she could potentially leave the show with and then rejected him. So she was a bit worried about how Conrad would take that. I kind of felt like Brooke B was internalizing this a lot more and the show wanted to make this a thing. And then when Conrad got to the camera, he was just like, yeah, I'm over that. Like, I'm moving on. There's money to be won.
Brooke B tends to make a lot of things a thing about herself.
She's struggling. She's really struggling out there. I mean, she's not really getting along with anybody. She's very introverted, doesn't want to socialize in these big groups and things like that. You've got to think that, you hear that she says she's got a lot of power and that she can perform if she's under pressure, but socially not fitting in, making up all these different things where she's in her head about Conrad, and instead of using that as a potential for her to move further in the game because that's a relationship that she can use with the Batchy group, I kind of feel like she's low-hanging fruit for people who want to take a shot at that Batchy group moving forward. Well, and it ended up being that this week that they wanted to take a shot at her.
Yeah, well, David she had that conversation with David as well about whether, and she was like, felt betrayed by him because she'd confided in him in private and he brought it up again. And he said, like, people feel like you don't want to be here. And whether or not, and we've seen that in the MTV version where they'll say they want to be there, but all their actions speak way louder. And maybe she's just giving off a vibe to everyone that she's just not interested.
Yeah. CD Mac, welcome back to the live stream. Says the Challenge Australia is very entertaining, and
It is.
we're not. It is entertaining. Myself and Kahuna are really enjoying it. But when this is done, if you have the time, go back and listen to the first 15 minutes of this live. If you weren't here from the start, we spoke about the ratings and why we think the show is struggling currently, and why there's been some changes made to the scheduling of the Challenge Australia. So they're going to be doing back-to-back episodes now on Mondays, and that is due to the ratings having dropped down to, I believe, 176,000 or 170,000 viewers for Tuesday this week. So we go into depth with that. So it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on that, and leave a comment below. Let us know what you think, if we're on the money on why we think the show is struggling a little bit, because I'm enjoying it and Kahuna is enjoying it.
Can I ask another question about, just to flick back to the ratings for 1 sec? It's my ADHD. Do you think the challenges selected so far, we've had 4 episodes, plays any part in some of the, or could have been better in helping the ratings?
Well,
Because
we've got CD. We've got CD here loving the challenge. What are you thinking about the daily challenges so far? And what are you thinking of how, I guess, the show has sort of done the eliminations as well? Because those are the 2 key factors, that sort of come into the play. I don't think personally that the dailies have been lacking, and I don't think the eliminations have been lacking too much. We did say it could have had a bigger wow moment for the first daily, and we felt a little bit that the first daily maybe wasn't as good as what they could have done. Like, they could have had them similar to the Challenge USA. I believe it was like episode 1 where they went up that tall building and they had to do, they had to go down the building as well. So, and then do like a puzzle or a math thing in the bottom, if I remember correctly. So they could have done something more exciting that was more visually appealing. But I don't think that's what's turning people off. I do think, spoiler alert, you'll hear us talking about this a little bit, is that I think it's the cast. I really think it's the people that they've got out there and the product that they're putting together, that some people just don't relate to that, and that the marketing is sort of aimed at Australian Survivor fans, but there isn't many of them on there.
I just noticed that 4 episodes in, 4 dailies, 4 eliminations, nothing physical yet, as far as touching each other. Like, it's still,
but it's hard
not
in the duos,
one.
right?
Yeah,
but in the duos, it's
absolutely
hard, and that's the problem you have with the duos, is like, how do you do it? I mean, they've done it in the past. Like, for instance, I remember one of the famous ones, Davon and Bear, having to pole wrestle both of them separately, and Bear kept losing and Davon kept winning until they ended up with a female tiebreaker. And then, but it's hard to make it fair, when
the Challenge USA, which this is modeled off. And I was thinking about that during the week. I was like, maybe they're like aiming slightly different to MTV, because the Challenge USA had a much older cast than, on average, than
no
what
excuses.
We had.
Have you seen the All Stars age?
Yeah, I know.
No,
but they still did pole wrestle. They did hall brawl.
Yeah,
they did. They did them in the Challenge USA. So if they're using a lot of the challenges that are going to be similar, they may use it, but it's about when. And I feel like they could have rolled out one by now. You know what I mean? Especially, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Lovable Nikki says, so no show on Tuesdays. Wow. Yeah, so no Tuesday shows, but back-to-back episodes. So you'll still get 2 episodes a week, 2 eliminations. They're just going to do it back-to-back because they found that Mondays are the best for viewership at this stage. So I think it's trying to just get everybody to watch it in one evening instead of watching it over 2 evenings in the week. I personally don't mind it so much. It will mean a little bit of a rejuggle for me doing exit interviews, because I have work commitments at the time that I normally do these interviews. So doing 4 interviews in one day is going to be impossible for me. So I'm probably going to end up doing 2 out of the 4 each week. And I'll maybe do 1 for one episode, 1 for the other episode, to try and balance it out as best I can. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult to juggle, but overall, I'm not opposed to it. We're still on the same timeline. We're still going to finish the show mid-December, which is what they aimed to do. But coming back to the episode, I did want to talk a little bit about David and Jessica. Both 2 people I really enjoyed seeing on the show. And like I said earlier, having both David and Jessica leave this week, and I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit to the elimination part of this, but having them leave, I feel like is a massive blow to the show, and I was really sad to see them get last year and automatically going into the elimination.
Yeah, I mean, especially like you said, we're losing big players early, and David was a bright shining star in the first couple episodes. So it certainly is a shame to see him go down into elimination at all. Um, but I mean, Jessica, the lines were drawn, right? Like it's clear as day that there's the bedroom alliance and the bachelor alliance, and the other people trying to decide and float between the two. And the shots were always going to be taken, and we saw, it's not working out for the bedroom alliance in that one.
Yeah, well, who's to blame for this? Because let's have a look at this. So who gets in power at this point is Connor and Sorrel. No one would have expected that. Sorrel's got this massive beef that she needs to set straight with Grant because Grant's friends with her hubby. Grant betrayed her. He dogged her because he dared to put a tile on her you know section in that first challenge to go into the elimination. She has to go and get payback. She said that she did think strategically about it when I did the exit interview with her. But weren't there bigger targets or bigger fish that they could fry? People that they could go after that really would have broken this Bachelor alliance up? Because Jessica seemed not that tied with them.
I feel like it's not to skip ahead, but I feel like the same in the next episode as well. Like a smarter, bigger shot could have been taken. But yeah, where would you have gone if you were Cyrell?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Sorrel probably feared the fact that there could be backlash potentially, and that if she did end up going in that direction, which is what David and Jessica wanted, which was Brooke B and Conrad to go down there, it would have meant two people from the Bachelor Alliance potentially being in danger of going home. I think that she was probably fearing that they were going to come for her, but my counter to that was that they were always coming for Sorrel because she wasn't intimidating. She wasn't someone that they thought they would have to be scared of in the game. So I kind of would have listened to some of these people and probably tried to get in good with that bedroom alliance who's got less numbers than the Bachelor alliance at this stage. But being in power is a tough one. You know, it's a tough one because you've got all these different alliances, and then the people who are playing the game the best at the moment is probably your Marleys and your Brooke Jawards of the game, who are kind of like sitting on the sideline and letting people take shots at each other at this point. So the alternative would have been to shoot one of the people who just are sitting on the sidelines. But I feel like you need to take a stab at the big targets.
And I guess maybe she thought she was aligning with, if the Bachelor group is the big one, that's the scary one, then maybe I'm not going to piss them off and take out their target for them or help them in that cause, So if she can protect herself that way, but yeah, you're right, because we know in Survivor, it's are you the last person on the, you're in the bigger alliance, but are you the last person in the alliance? And that was always going to be the case. So you have to be able to look ahead and make moves. But we know Cyrell was never going to be able to work with Grant in any way. Like, if at least it was a side shot at Grant in some way that she could get that done.
Well, the shocking thing is that she's friends with David, and she didn't listen to David when he asked for Conrad and Brooke B to be put in there because they thought Brooke B was someone they could target in such a situation. She didn't even listen to David, lost the ally potentially in putting a much more capable competitor in Grant down there to go up against them. So I was shocked about that. And then the person I was the most disappointed with, because for the longest period of time, I couldn't understand why is there all this Connor hate. Like, it does seem like no one likes Connor. And Sorrel said, and Sorrel said he doesn't have a backbone. He's a snake. He's a weasel. He was weaseling himself out of all these different situations. Connor was seen as this friend of Jessica's. Jessica kept Connor safe in the previous round. And how does he repay her? He doesn't listen to her and throws in a much tougher competitor against her than what she wanted. So I kind of understand it. Like, it's crazy how Connor really dogged her,
Maybe he heard the comment David said about him being up her ass like a hemorrhoid.
Maybe.
He was like, yeah.
I mean, I'll ask Connor. I'll definitely ask him why he did what he did if I do get to talk to him. Because to me, it was shocking strategy, personally. I do
Mm.
want to read a couple of the comments here. Lovable Nicky saying, I thought that Australia was going to mirror the USA, but they are doing more 38s dailies and eliminations. It's a bit weird to be different when they are all coming together. And I think it's just purely, and no spoilers, Kahuna. I haven't watched today's challenge yet.
Me
But
neither.
yeah, so I need to get into that. So no spoilers, Nikki. But I've noticed that there is some crossover in the dailies. There's crossover in the eliminations. There's crossover with the arena. I think it had to do with cost savings and the fact that this production was really run by the USA production team behind the scenes, and it just had an Australian flavor with its own host and Channel 10 being a little bit involved. But I feel like behind the scenes, the wires and circuitry was managed by the proper MTV
Donna
production
Murray.
team. Yeah, there you go. So I think that's what happened. CD Mac also says, I'm a Survivor fan, so I'm more interested in the strategy, the dynamic of the house, and the drama. So I enjoyed the show. So what do you think of the strategy, CD? Because I feel like there's a lot of people, the strategy is gone out the window a little bit. Like it's interesting, but it's a goal. Again, it's people playing this game that come from a very different show. They're not necessarily thinking as strategically as Brooke is thinking at this point, or Marley, who's also come from a very strategic show and is thinking a bit more strategic about where does he place himself, not to be a target immediately, but sort of to ride the middle out until the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Grant gets thrown into the elimination with Kiki. They have to move tires from one end of the arena and stack them together. But before they have to do that, it's not that easy, Kahuna. They're going to have to spell words backwards, and Kiki gets the mother of all stumps on algorithm, and she has to do that one backwards. Now, big question here, Kahuna. Would you have been able to spell algorithm backwards? Do you think this is something you would have been good under pressure? The lights are on you, you're down in the arena, and you've got Bryony telling you to get on with it. Do you reckon you'd get it on the first go?
I mean, did you do them while you're watching it?
To be honest with you, I am so bad with any word spelling backwards. Like, for some
All
other
right,
reason, I
let's
feel like
try it.
maybe I'm a little
Throw me
bit.
a word.
Nah,
Throw me a
okay,
challenge related word.
okay. Armageddon.
Armageddon. Noddegamra.
Yeah, I think it's right. Good job.
Hey.
You can do it under pressure. You let us know if it was wrong. Listen,
Take that, Kiki.
For some other reason, like when I hear words being spelled backwards, my mind just goes blank. Like I feel like that would be a weakness. I would be horrible. So no shame on Kiki for not getting that one right. But she was under pressure,
Yeah,
and it ended
algorithm's a
up.
hard word too.
It's not an easy one. I
Yeah,
felt
the
like.
rhythm bit with the THM in the end, like
Do you
that
feel like
messes
it
with
was the
people.
hardest one out of all of the words? I feel like
Oh,
they
easily.
started off easy and then they got more and more
Yeah.
difficult.
I mean, they weren't super like even things like politics when you get CSs backwards and stuff. It's hard, but yeah, algorithm easily like that's hard to spell forwards because of
Yeah.
the RITHM, the THM thing, and then you've got the rhythm for drums and that sort of thing with the Y.
Yeah.
So that's why it like throws you off because there's English is a messed up language. First of all, the way we spell different sounding words, like the same sound, different ways, multiple different ways, and then to ask to be do it backwards, it's a trick. That's hard. I don't blame her at all.
I'm with lovable Nikki. My brain does not work backwards. Like tell me to spell it forwards any day. And I also think for me, it's because I speak more than one language. I speak 3 languages. So for that also, I think it kind of messes with your brain in some ways when you start spelling it backwards. Maybe I'm using it as an excuse. She's also saying algorithm was harder than USA words in the elimination. I can't even remember the elimination words from the USA. But I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, lovable Nikki, the team that ended up getting the penalty may have even won that one. It may have happened twice where we've had a team come from behind with the 6 extra tires winning. But, Grant and Kiki had to do a lot of additional work here, but they still end up slamming it out of the park because Grant has worked in construction. He's a builder.
Yeah.
So,
He's a big boy.
You get Connor, just happened to be a softball player, ends up acing it, and then you get someone else just happening to be a builder, knowing how to lay a good foundation. He's laid pipe a few times in his life, and he ends up getting it done.
And Kiki showed a lot of, gut and strength as well. Like she powered through 100%. It too. Yeah.
I think it was Brooke who made the comment saying Kiki looked fabulous or great while dominating the challenge. Like, because that's important. You gotta look on fleek. Is
It's a
that the
good
right
challenge.
terminology?
I think so. I'm too old for that. I'm pretty sure that you're good. That would definitely be something they would say on Bachelorette, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. But we do end up losing Jessica. We do end up losing David here. Sadly, I didn't get to talk to David. He was the only person this week I didn't get to
I
do an
know,
exit
what a
interview
shame.
with.
Do you think they could have done better against Brooke and Conrad?
I
Because
think
that was
that
their choice.
Conrad would have been a beast. I feel like Conrad is capable, but I feel Brooke B may have struggled against Jessica. Jessica seems to be a fighter, and I'm really interested to know, Lovable Nikki. Let me know in the comments. I know you're a big fan of the challenge. Would you love to see Would you love to see Jessica make that transition over to the challenge in MTV? Because it seems like she wants to be on the main show. She talks to all the people. She talks to Devin, Tori,
She
Josh,
said Devin talks to her every day. I was like, oh,
Jay.
Devin, what are you trying
Yeah,
to do?
she called Devin a mini CT, which I don't agree with, but
Yeah.
he's definitely nothing like CT. I feel like he's like the poor man's version of Wes until he wins a challenge. Then maybe I'll change my opinion about it. But I kind of feel like he's more trying to
Got a
be
good
like a
shot this
Wes.
year. He's got
He's
Tori
got a
on his
great,
side.
great partner with Tori, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but they've also got some stacked teams to go against at this stage. So we'll see how it turns out. But I mean, until he wins one, that's my verdict. You can't mention him with the greatest. But she did say that CT was her favorite challenger of all time. So I think that would get a lot of fans to endorse her for a crossover to the main show. Would you like to see it?
That was so cool that you got that, by the way. We found out. This is why I like the exit interviews. It's stuff they cannot have the time to show on air, and to find out that she was such a mega fan was really impressive. Like, that was cool, and it was her dream. She'd go on a heartbeat, wants to get to the US one. I think if there's no season 2, I said before that it might just be cheap enough in the grand scheme of things to keep it running. The other thing that it can do is potentially be one of those farm league shows for the MTV version. You know what I mean? Like how
I agree.
they bring in people from all the other shows around Europe and Africa now. Like, maybe it's worth keeping it in house to start building out our farm league, and we can have this rotating cast where we can bring people in from, we know they're good TV because they're in house, they're in our production company, we've worked with them, they're good. So maybe they'll just keep it going in order to still have that ripe field of contestants to draw from, now that the Real World and Road Rules has been gone for so long.
Yeah, I mean, I know that people who love the main show hate seeing too many newbies come in all the time, but you need to keep it fresh. You need to keep people coming in so the show can survive for much longer. Because I've always said you don't want people to be 60 and still coming onto the challenge. I would start feeling bad for them
Unless
if
it's
this is the
CT.
main thing that they're doing. Unless it's CT. CT can come. Geez, I feel like I just may have slated Mark Long a little bit. Isn't he 60? He's close
He's
to
50,
50. There you go. He's getting close.
He's 50,
Yes, I mean, he's looking amazing though. Like, if you look
Yeah.
like that, you can still come
He's
on the
not
show.
normal. He's not
No,
normal.
he's not a normal 50-year-old. If you're a normal 50-year-old, don't come on the show.
Yeah.
Lovable Nikki here says, I didn't see enough of Jessica to make a decision. Plus, she seems short. If so, she'll just be a target a lot. That is true. I mean, listen, any newbie is going to be a target a lot in the main show. And that's why I know it's a different show, but that's why I feel like I want to talk about it a little bit, but I want to also keep it back for when I do talk to Drew and Chantel at the end of the season. It's been a lot of hot takes on Jay and Michelle this season, but I've been loving what they're doing. I'm loving the fact that they're targeting the vets.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what they should be doing every season.
Yeah.
And they used to do it, like when the Young Buck, Team Young Buck and that used to always try to take out the vets. That's what you should do every season. I hate when the Rooks just go, okay, we'll roll over and you beat us. That's fine. But I think if Jessica did get a chance, her Bachelorette, no, what is it? Love Island? Is it Love Island or The Bachelor or whatever? Her reality TV past, her look with her tattoos, and it's never been on that show. I think the guys on that show, like Fessy, would be in an instant. Like, they'd be falling over themselves. She looks great on TV with
plus the accent. Don't forget about
the Aussie
accent going over there.
Yeah, they would love her. They'd love her on that show.
Yeah, and she seems like from having had that chat with her, like I'm endorsing her because I really had a good chat with her. She's very friendly and open to fan engagement. You know, she even had we had a conversation after the exit interview was done, where I said to her, "Hey, you know, if you ever want to talk some challenge in the future, I'd love to have you on. I know you're a fan." You know, she's like, "Yeah, I'd love to chat in the future." So that type of thing. So who knows? We
Cool.
might see her back on it to talk about the challenge at some point because she is legitimately a fan of the show. So that's always fun. Also, let's have a look here. Of course you do. Chris J is horrible at the game. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. I'm biased, lovable Nicky. I love my Survivor players, but also I'm not saying he's the mastermind of the game, but I do love it when people try and upset the apple cart. I know it makes fans very upset when people come for their favorites, though. But for me, I kind of sit on the side and I enjoy it. But I'll have more takes by the time it gets to the end of the season when I finally get on the conversation with both Chantal and Drew, and I'm sure they will let me hear it when I say these things. They'll definitely rip into me because I know they're old school fans as well and love the vets. All right, so not that I don't love the vets. I just want to put that on the record. Please, fans, don't come for me. Moving on with this week of the Challenge Australia. We go into episode 4, and the algorithm has done Sorel a big favor coming into this week because she's partnered with Johnny.
Can I
And
just
this
say,
is something...
with regards to that algorithm, partner with Johnny Sorrell, ending episode 3, this is something, one of my weird takes, Chris. You'll know the way my strange brain starts to work
I
now.
love it.
A brilliant piece, just a shout out to the editing of this show. Brilliant bookend, the way, I don't know if you noticed it, but the show started with David going, I'm teamed with Jessica, I hate the algorithm. And then it ends with the show going, Cyrell's paired with Johnny, and she goes, Grant can't vote me in now. I'm with his bloody Johnny. I love the algorithm. And it was just brilliant the way they kind of bookended the show. And sorry, that's a bit of TV behind, but you pick up on these things. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Great shout out to the editing there.
Yeah, and I think it's also them being aware and kind of acknowledging that we can't please everyone. All right, the algorithm's here this time.
Because that's
Some
exactly what
people's going
people
to
are
love it,
saying as well.
and some people are going to hate it. And even in the exit interviews, when I asked people about it, some people enjoyed it and some people weren't a fan of it. Like Johnny, let's be fair, got screwed this week being partnered with Sorel because Sorel, yes, she won the previous daily, but that was a fluke, you know? So, I mean, coming into this thing, I don't think Johnny was on anybody's radar coming into this week, but being partnered with Sorel ended up being a liability, but he still came on the exit interview and said, hey, I think the algorithm wasn't a bad thing. It kind of spiced things up. It made things fair.
I mean, that's another perfect example of that editing that I talked about, by the way. Do you know what Chekhov's gun is? Have you heard of this phrase before?
No.
So in films and movie making, it's a thing called Chekhov's gun, where if they show a gun in the first act, like on the wall or something, then it's going to play a part in the third act, right? They don't show it for no reason or whatever MacGuffin, whatever thing it might be. Oh, here's this thing we invented. Okay, cool. And then later, it's going to play a part, right? So I loved how it was like Cyrell going, I'm protected now. I'm with Johnny. I'm protected now. I'm with Johnny. Doesn't stop you from losing, though, does it?
No.
That was great because they play it up. They made sure they hit that hard. Multiple people say, even Johnny joked about with Grant going, oh, if I win, I'm throwing you in. Ha ha, buddy. We're protected because we got each other's backs. And
didn't work out so well for them
Did
because
not
you
work
do
out.
still need to do well in the daily challenges. That's why I love the challenge. It is fair in a lot of different ways because if you don't perform on the daily, you get last place, you go straight into the elimination. And obviously, Johnny and Sorel being partnered together, that's not going to work out too well for them. But before we talk about the daily, there was a very hot and steamy scene in the jacuzzi between Conrad and Megan. They were hooking up, and I found this to be a very fun scene because I'm not here for the love shows. It's not my thing. We spoke about that a little bit earlier on. I can take it in doses, but I was living through Marley and Brooke Jowett, who were both seeing this and saying, this is brilliant for us because they're putting a massive target on their backs. We can continue to ride the middle. They're not sure what game show they're on. We'll focus on the strategy as these two get voted out. And I love seeing that because that is me. That I lived through Brooke and Marley watching that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. The way they I was like, oh yeah, they're showing the Reggie hookup, but then you've got people actually seeing the strategy side behind it and the implications and consequences, which the people in the hot tub have clearly not thought about at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like,
Listen,
I'm not.
I'm not saying if I'm in a hot tub with Megan, it wouldn't have happened. But I would not put myself in a hot tub with her in the first place. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we see it on the MTV version where they'll go, "Oh no, I can't. I don't want to ruin my game," or that sort of thing, or
Yeah.
you know, showmancers and stuff like they don't want to ruin their game or be a target or seen as a power couple and Survivor and all that. But because these people have never played anything like this, their games you're supposed to hook up. That's the purpose of the game, right? And that's what they're used to. That's where they're coming from. Look, considering that we saw Kieran and Kieran go into the shower with someone in the first 11 minutes of episode 1. I thought it would be a lot more hookups by now, but it's it was interesting to see that one for sure. Yeah, and the way it was observed from a different angle, anyway.
Yeah. And I mean that I think it's hard. Like it's easy for us sitting here on the sideline saying, "Hey, I get on that hot tub, I won't do anything. You know, I'm a good Christian boy." But I'm telling you now, like if you're out there and this is your world, and these girls, they're all good-looking girls out there, you know, things happen. It's hard to fight Mother Nature.
Hot tubs are just people soup, Chris.
Exactly.
Don't stay out of them in general. Anyway, it's just people soup.
All right, let's change this. Let's change this topic. Lovable Nikki here asking, what do you all think of Marley? And I don't know what you're thinking at this stage, Kahuna, but I'm extremely high on Marley. I was high on Marley coming into this season because the only Big Brother Australia season that I watched was Marley's season that he played in. And one, he definitely wasn't a strategic mastermind that season. He had a more capable person playing very closely with him. But I do think that he learned very much from this person that he played with. Actually, about two people that were very strategic he played with. And I do think he is showing a great ability to be one of the more strategic people this season. He's a sleeper. He's physically extremely capable. And I was surprised with him and Brooke, again, being partnered up this week, that they didn't get the dub this week. But I do think that they're both, and Marley included, are playing a very, very smart game. It's just the question of can they survive long enough, because Conrad has recognized Marley and Troy now as his biggest threat. So that means that they're on the Batchy Alliance's radar. I'm a little bit worried for them there, but what's your thoughts on Marley overall?
I mean, yeah, as you said, you hit the nail on the head. He's incredibly capable. He's great on camera. He's really good, but he's not getting that much spotlight yet. Which I don't know if I'm worried or they're just like, because we know that we're losing big personalities early, so they're using all that footage because maybe Marley's getting his footage
later.
is getting saved. Yeah,
but he's consistently getting footage though. Sadly, we don't have confessional counts that someone is compiling for us like they do for Survivor. But I'm of the opinion that Marley has had a confessional every single episode.
He has. He's had at least one, but
for a reason. Yeah,
he's certainly not one of the biggest like counts though. Like again, I don't know the counts, but he's not constantly on there like a Cyrell or a David. You know, like
if they don't get him out on time, I'm going to say this: if they don't get him out on time, he's going to be dangerous because he was dangerous in Big Brother. He won a lot of challenges. Now, obviously, Big Brother, the challenges are slightly different from what you're doing out there. It's not as endurance and all that stuff. But the guy is a professional basketball player or former professional basketball player. I don't know if he still plays right now. Clearly has a certain athleticism about him. I think he's a threat. If they don't take care of him, he's gonna definitely do some damage.
Well, the Bedroom Alliance is in tatters.
They need people. They need soldiers.
Yeah. Well, the Batchy Alliance doesn't need to now. You don't need to take out any more. They're already powerless.
Yeah. Well, that's
so maybe
the thing.
Now they becomes a target now.
Yeah. Sorry, I just lost you there for a second. Apologies for going over you. But the Bedroom Alliance coming into this episode, we had Johnny, Ryan, and Grant. They also had two tag-alongs in Sugar and Emily that is associated with them, but they end up losing Johnny this episode. So that means that it's now Ryan and Grant with the potential tag-alongs of Sugar and Emily. And how that alliance, I think, with Sugar happened, we heard from Johnny this week in the exit interview. They had a mutual friend, and that's how they kind of got connected. So real-life relationships coming into play.
Oh, what about the way he described the relationship with Grant?
Yeah, amazing stuff. And we're not going to talk about that on the podcast. If you want to know how this alliance formed in the first place between Johnny, Ryan, and Grant, go and check out the exit interview that
So
I
good.
did. There were two
So
this
good.
week. I can't sadly put the names of people on there yet because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Maybe people in the States that are a week or two behind when they're watching this. I don't want to spoil it for them, but go and check out the two that I dropped this week. One of them is for Johnny, and he goes into depth how that relationship started. It was pre-game, so there's a little bit of pre-gaming happening here, but I thought it was really funny how they became friends, and I believe they still are friends right now. So yeah, but ultimately this alliance is going to struggle. The Bachelor Alliance, Brooke says there's too many of them to even remember the names.
You know what I thought was great, by the way? Brooke just doing the best narrator confessional ever,
Yeah,
and they assist her with like a PowerPoint presentation
that was brilliant.
behind, like the bringing the graphics. Oh, and they've got Sugar and Emily. Bring them into this. It was really well done. They've
Yeah,
never done that on the US version, right?
they
I don't
should.
think I've remember. Yeah, it's so.
I think no. I
Why
think they have.
they
I feel
have?
like they have. I feel like they
It's a
have. I
clear
remember.
breakdown. It's like they drew lines for us to go, okay, good, I've got that one. Yep, okay, great. And when you've got a show that's
Yeah,
new, where people aren't as familiar with the names yet, maybe, and that, why not make it easy for people to get and dumb it down like that? It's more visually exciting, and it helped understand. Okay, there's a bedroom alliance and there's a batch alliance. I'm there. I know what's going on. Let's go. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree. I feel like
Yeah,
there's been at least once or twice maybe where that's happened in the past. But yeah, definitely helps a lot. Like, Lovable Nikki has said earlier, I think I might have skipped over this comment. She said, I've been watching competition shows for so many players that I do not know in years. So it's difficult to keep track of the players in Australia. So great example of
yeah.
where they're helping us keep track a little bit of it here. But we get into the second daily challenge, and it's one that I personally, Kahuna, if I was out there, would have loved. It's an obstacle course. They have to
Me too.
run.
Me too, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. You and I, if we were DOs, we would have smashed it.
Yeah.
But they have to move wine barrels that weighs 40 kilograms each. If I remember that correctly, it's a lot of bloody weight from one end to the other end, and then climb these wine barrels to hit a button. And they got to move their way through this course to get to the other end first. Ultimately, Johnny kills it individually, keeping up with Ryan on the sprints, but he's going to be dragged back by Sorrel because she has to move these things with her. And then the person, like I said, that probably surprised me the most struggling through this was Brooke. But I think we spoke about this a little bit, Brooke Jowett, before the show became a thing. And we said she's not the biggest girl, like
Yeah.
she's got endurance. She can, like, if she gets, I think Brooke is the type of girl, if she gets to the final, she wins it because she's got endurance. She can probably run in, unless she's against Emily, because I mean, freaking hell, who's going to beat Emily
Yeah.
or Sugar, two pro athletes? But I think she would have a shot. She's good at puzzles. She's good at a lot of different things. But when it comes to like carrying 40
Hand-eye
kilograms,
coordination,
yeah, 40
like
kilograms is
throwing
probably how
star
much.
shooting. Yeah, yeah. That's a
Do you
lot. That's
reckon?
too
Do you
much
reckon
for her.
Brooke is like that's probably 80 or 90% of her body weight, if not all of her body
Yeah.
weight?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big chunk for sure.
Jeez, can't
She could have
imagine logging
they could
my own
fit in
body
it
weight.
easily. They could fit in it, like, quite easily.
But she said she just wanted to keep up with Marley and not let him down in this one. They luckily didn't get in last, but I feel like they were very close, like second or third to last coming into this
Mm.
thing. So they do manage to escape that. Conrad in the section talks about Marley and Troy as the two people that they have to target. And we had the section about Marley and Troy and that friendship being formed and how they both think that they're laying low and they can sit on the sides. I find it amusing that Troy thinks that he can sit aside when he already won a daily prior to this one and he's taken some shots. How did he think people weren't going to look at him?
I guess just not being one of the two alliances that are fighting, they're hoping that that is enough of a distraction, perhaps. But
Yeah, or you can get used as a weapon where you can say, hey, I've won before. I'm a proven winner. If I win, if I come back from an elimination, if you throw me in and I win the next one, you're going in. Or you can use me as a weapon against the Bedroom Alliance.
yeah,
It's probably a case that he can make.
I picked in the preview show that Troy and Emily would be people to watch out for, and they've won 2 dailies each, and we've only had
Impressive.
4. We've only had 4. Between the two of them, they've won 75% of the challenges.
Yeah. They're
You know what I
the
mean?
they're the Tyson and Angela of
Yeah,
the show early on. If
yeah.
this is a good omen for them or not, I don't know, but they're starting off like a house on fire. And Troy, yeah, hats off to him because he's not the biggest guy, and it's still 40 kilograms to run. I wasn't surprised by Emily a lot. Like Emily is a beast.
Oh, yeah. She's killing. I told you, like, I don't think people understand like the dedication it takes to be a gold medal Olympic athlete in swimming. Like it's one of the biggest sports on the planet. Like that requires that level of commitment and dedication. She's going to be able to throw herself into it with some kind of almost psychopathic, like the way that competitive drive is so strong. Over the last however many decades she's been doing it, it's got to come out in other forms, and the challenge is a perfect outlet for it.
Yeah. Shout out also to Conrad and Sugar, who ended up getting second place in this one. They came very close to winning. So obviously Sugar showing that she's got that capability. Conrad, I was very glad he didn't win because I did not want him to be taking a shot at Marley. So if you want to know what I think about Marley, Lovable Nikki, I'm shouting for the people that I know from previous shows, like Marley and Brooke Jowett. They're like my two people right now in the game, but they're not getting the biggest edit, so I'm a little bit worried there. New players that have sort of stood out and are doing a good job. I think Kieran is one to look out for. He's I don't know if I like him yet, but I think he'll represent Australia well. I feel like he'll physically be capable. And then outside of that, Kahuna, like who
Kieran,
else?
honestly, with Kieran, considering his season on The Bachelor, it's one of the only ones I've seen. Because The Bachelorette that season was like she left another show that I used to watch called Gogglebox. She was from that, so I was like, oh, I'll check out what she's doing on the back. And he was a great TV person, and we saw it in the first episode. But I feel like he's gone quiet in the edit the last couple of
Very
episodes, right?
quiet, which is
Like
interesting.
real, yeah,
He's
fell off a
similar to
cliff.
Marley. He keeps having a say here and there. Like Marley, he gets his confessional in episode, but he's not saying much and he's not
Yeah,
overly strategic. But I feel like for some other reason, I just think he's capable, and we haven't seen him similar to Marley.
I
So
agree.
that's
I
what
just
those are
thought
my two dark horses.
he came out of the it started the show. I thought it was Kieran. He said he's going to be messy, he's a root rat, all that thing. I was like, yeah, he is, and we're going to see it. And it hasn't really played out so far, which I find interesting. Maybe he's trying to actually play the game, but who knows?
But here's the fear that I have, right? Outside of Marley, Brooke, and maybe Kieran, and I don't even know if I'm shouting for Kieran yet, so I'm still thinking on that one because I don't know. Like, but who is there that you're like, most seasons you've got like, CT's my guy, or Wes is my guy, or Jay this season he's my guy. You've got people that you get behind. I feel like the show is kind of lacking those characters now that I really enjoyed David. He's out. I enjoyed the mess Sorrell
Yep.
brought. I really enjoyed Jessica early on.
Yep.
Jack was interesting. I wanted to see what he was going to do
Yeah.
in the game as well. Johnny, how can I forget? Obviously, wanted Johnny to do well just because of the Survivor connection. I'm still looking for my people, and I wonder if that is still a reason why people also aren't as gravitated towards it because they don't feel like there's that person yet that they're shouting for.
Yeah. And you only like those people that you're shouting for because you've seen them in previous seasons, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to get that in the first season, especially for characters and shows that you haven't seen. Again, just another reason why I really hope we get that season 2 because I do feel like the more we get them, we give them a chance. They're going to build on them.
But I do want to say, you say that, but in Survivor, I'm going to use Survivor 43 as an example this season. Very early on, I was like, I like Jesse, I like Cody, I like Owen, I like, Ellie, even though some people didn't like her. I like Carla. Like I had my people very early on that I was gravitating towards. And I don't know if that's a casting thing or an edit thing where maybe Survivor's doing a better storytelling around their backstory and where they're coming from and who they are, where, again, I just don't have that connection with these people yet.
Yeah, I guess they're only the ones out of the Bachelorette kind of the Bachelor Alliance. I do like Kiki a lot. I think Kiki's shown some stuff. I think she'll be good. Brittany's okay, but it's only every now and then she'll get a confessional, but doesn't really do much else outside of that. So you're right. There's no one that I'm like gravitating towards or wanting to get behind.
I feel like people are feeling disconnected and Lovable Nikki saying not Jay and then also saying that's a good observation. I'm not with any player. I'm just watching, not really caring who wins or loses. And that's me. I'm kind of, for me, I like Marley and I like Brooke, but again, I'm biased and I agree that bias is there. And then I'm open-minded to liking some of these other people. So maybe that still comes in the next couple of episodes. But I'm not behind anyone at this point. I don't feel tribal about anybody yet. Well, I'm like, this is my person. Kiki has impressed me. She wants to be known similar to Jessica's more than just being this pretty girl that's been on The Bachelor.
Yeah, I like
She wants to
Jessica.
prove herself. And that's why I asked Jessica that question as well. Why was that so important to you? Because I really wanted to know. And I understand that if you're on a love show and you're judged on your looks and things like that, maybe you want to change the narrative. And I feel like she's kind of walking that same story and maybe can still achieve it because she seems capable.
She's doing good. Well, you said obviously you've got the ones that you like in Marlene Brooke, but then you said I like Jessica. Oh, and Johnny, I mean, but I like Jessica. David was great. Cyrell's awesome. Jack was very interesting, even though it was one,
Early ones, yeah.
early ones. And unfortunately, they are going out, but there's the numbers there. There are the characters. It's just the way it's played out. They're gone early. It may mean, unfortunately, even worse things for the rest of the season, but they definitely did pick some good characters. They just happen to be going early.
Mm. No, it's interesting. I mean, listen, I'm here for the long haul. I'm going to be talking about it regardless. I want to see who wins this thing. I want to have the understanding, probably similar to Lovable Nikki, of the players that potentially go and represent Australia at the global event, and we want to know them when they get there. And we're going to be better off for it, sticking with the show and watching it and seeing it play out. And I'm, like I said, the one person I am shouting for is Bryony. I really enjoy Bryony, and I'll come back to watch the show for Bryony because they're doing a great job. I'm really enjoying them.
Yeah.
So, right, we go to deliberation here. Johnny and Sorrel wants to go against Connor and Megan for this next one. They believe Connor is someone that's easy to beat. Connor's been in the firing line the whole time. Troy notices that Karen is also potentially a possibility and does think that Karen is his biggest threat to win the game. But he still ends up going in the direction of Connor and Megan. Did you like this move by Troy, or do you think he's playing a scared game, like we like to say in the challenge?
I mean, even the show itself in the edit, they play it up. Emily said it. Troy said it. Oh, that we got to do something about this Bachelor Alliance. And our biggest threat is Kieran's the biggest threat. They're mentioning it, and then I get Megan is still in the thing, but it just felt a bit. Yeah, it was. I don't know why. I don't understand the. They could have taken their shot right there and drawn a line, really, especially because Emily is associated with the Bedroom Alliance. Troy's wanting to make it, and that's what they come up with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It fell flat for me.
Yeah,
the move
for
fell
sure.
flat. Didn't feel like it was anything memorable or exciting. It was probably a kind of safe move because are they really that scared of Connor and Megan potentially winning a lot of challenges coming back? Maybe not so, but at some point you need to take out threats to your game to actually win this whole show if you want to win the $200,000.
Were they wanting Johnny to come back? Is that why they sent him in, to maybe give them an easier thing and hope that Cyrell and Johnny actually make it back in?
It's a good point because Emily was kind of sideways, has that alliance with Sugar.
And she loves Cyrell,
also,
yeah.
Yeah. So probably did. Yeah. So probably that's
in
another way to
in that instance, it makes sense. Is there a weaker one that they could have put in with them to give a better chance?
I don't think so. I really think this was probably the best shot they had.
Who was Brooke B with this week?
Brooke B, I think, had one of the other Bachelor. Wasn't it Karen maybe this week? Like she was with someone pretty strong, I think, this week.
Oh, Conrad, because she had the drama that he was.
Conrad.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they went that route, they're taking two Bachelor. That might have been a better option. If Brooke B is seen as a weaker link than Megan, that could have been a better option for them. But I think Connor wouldn't have caused any waves regardless. He'd already sort of done his dash with a lot of people. They're talking shit about him a lot. So,
No, Brooke B, I just wanted to make sure. No, Brooke B next week is going to be with Grant. Okay, I've got next week's algorithm here as well if we want to talk about it. But yeah, so it's interesting. She does end up not getting into the firing line here, but this is one of those challenges.
No, Brooke B was with Ryan. Brooke B was with Ryan. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the boys for some other reason. So that makes sense why they didn't target her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, they do in this specific elimination have that one that we've seen before in the Challenge USA. This is the one I think that Sarah Lucina ended up winning with one of the other animals. Leo. This was the famous the for us living in New Zealand, we've got something called kapo ponga. which is the New Zealand war cry, the Maori war cry, where you do like a haka. And the New Zealand rugby team does that before every rugby game. And the end of the haka, the kapo panga that they do, it's like a war cry. We're going to fight you. We're going to play against you this game. They do the throat slit. So
Yeah.
when she did that, I was like, she should be in New Zealand to play for the New Zealand rugby team. I know a lot of people that season weren't too impressed with Sarah, but listen,
No.
Survivor, Cops Are Us, it's always going to be. I'll remember her for the good times, you know. So I'm a Sarah fan. I did say some of the stuff I didn't agree with on that season, but it's not enough for me to dislike the 3 seasons I've seen her on before. I always enjoyed Sarah the Cena, but yeah, she lost the mind a little bit there. But this is the one that she won, I believe, with Leo. They end up having to stack these wheels on top of each other. There's different sizes. And they have to go into a dark room. Apparently, Johnny's very familiar with being in dark rooms and feeling things out. Sorrel felt a bit uncomfortable because she wasn't sure what she was feeling while she was in there. She said, "Can you imagine if I touched the wrong thing in there?" So this is the type of commentary that we're going to be missing from Sorrel not being on the show.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, such a shame. Yeah, taken too soon. But, you know, they do go out there. They stack this quicker than Connor and Megan. And they ended up making a small mistake at the top and redoing the whole stack.
Can I just say, like, whenever you finish a puzzle in the challenge on MTV's version, the people say, check, TJ, check, right? That's usually what you know it's Challenge Australia when you hear Johnny go, what do you reckon? What do you reckon? And then when she says it's wrong, he goes, motherfucker. It's so good. What do you reckon is the best thing I've ever heard on the challenge, man?
I can't wait for an Australia. That's why we needed Johnny should have been on the main show, man. Like it would have been so funny to have him on there.
No one would know what he's saying.
What do you reckon?
He's like, what? I don't know what you're saying, man. And there's subtitles and stuff.
We need him with his mullet and his mo back, though, if he's ever going to go on that show. That would be funny.
Right. Ryan can give him back to him.
Yeah, so sadly, Johnny and Sorrel are no more. They're eliminated. I was very sad to see both of them
idiot. Go. The guy, one of the confessions said, "You idiot." I don't know what did he say to you about dumping the whole lot? Did you ask him about that?
I did ask him, and he's like, mate, I'm a bloody muppet. That's why I did it. He's like, mate, and even when I was trying to give him like a softball, stroke his ego, and say, hey, you've played Survivor before, you've done these strategy games, you know, did you what was your strategy going and what it is? He's like, mate, did you bloody watch Survivor? I was clueless.
He was great. He was great. I do like that he also gave credit and said Sorrel nearly got us there. She was the one.
Yeah, he actually was very respectful of Sorrel throughout. Like, you know, he never blamed Sorrel for losing. So it's a class act by him because we've seen some male competitors. Yeah, well, Billy Derpy obviously was a little bit hard on his partner, but we've also never really, like in the US, we see some players, some men potentially sometimes really blame their female partners for losses and things like that, which is not on, but and not all of them, but some of them.
CT and Big T, when Cam picked him.
CT and Veronica.
Yeah, that's right. Made her exercise a lot.
So yeah, Johnny was.
Men can be such dicks.
Oh, for sure. I mean, listen, CT is a competitive person, so I think like being partnered as a female with CT would both be the most exhilarating and fun thing, and you'd be like, yes, I'm going to win a challenge because he's like Oprah. He just keeps handing out wins to everyone. But it will also be very intimidating. Where you're like, shit, I'm going to have to perform.
If you make him lose, though, if you make him lose, then you get the other want to be on the other side.
Yeah. So going into next week, we've got the algorithm pairing up some new teams. We've got Karen and Brooke Jowett together. So I'm hoping that's good for Brooke being in that Batchy alliance for next week. Grant and Brooke B is going to be together. So she potentially could be in danger because I feel like Grant is someone that potentially could get targeted. Marley and Megan. So that's good for Marley. He's got a Batchy person there with him. Conrad and Emily will be together. So that's a little bit of a cross alliance combo happening there. Ryan and Sugar, I think Ryan and Sugar are very much in danger because they're two people from the same alliance. Connor and Brittany, mixed feelings. She's worried that
No
Everyone
one
wants to
wants to
get
be with
Connor out.
Connor, eh? No one ever
Yeah.
wants to be with Connor.
And Troy and Kiki is going to be together next week as well. So I feel like
Kiki,
Ryan and
do you
Sugar
love me? Sorry.
and Connor and Brittany are probably going to be the most at risk going into next week, and we'll have to take out a win. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, the pressure's definitely on, because I don't think Britney's got, like, she's bachelor, but I don't think she's got she's got the hooks in where she's commanded loyalty. You know what I mean? Like it
Mm,
doesn't feel like it's that strong of a relationship as far as gameplay goes for these people yet. So I don't know if they're going to be gung ho about backing each other up all the way. You know what I mean?
100%.
Mm.
Lovable Nikki here in the live says that let's calm down on CT crying.
I love CT. I love
We
CT.
love CT. We love CT.
Yeah.
I mean, CT is just one
Sometimes
of those people.
he did tell someone once that he was going to smash his head and eat it, though. So
Yeah, it feels like a different CT from a different lifetime when that happened. But
I love CT. He's a goat.
all right, well, we're at that point, the pointy end of the podcast where we've spoken about, I think, everything that we could have talked about in this week's The Challenge Australia. Please consider subscribing. It is free. We hope we earned your subscription today by having some great banter and talking about The Challenge Australia Week 2. Like, comment, let us know what you like, what you didn't like, what do you agree with, what do you disagree with, what's your hot takes for this episodes, and be sure to check back in next week as we sit down with 2 more people from the challenge as we do the exit interviews, and also as myself and Kahuna get back to talk about week 3 of the challenge. We'll be back at the same time on Thursday evening at 10:30 p.m. in New Zealand and 8:30 p.m. over in Sydney, Australian time. And as always, thank you for everybody in the live. Lovable Nikki for getting up so early to join us. It's always great fun having people here joining in on a conversation. CD Mac also for popping in, and Michael Hope as well. Thank you so much for being in the live here, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.